Hey there everyone, you are with me in the cube. I have gone down to my regular spot to record this video, and it was so windy that you couldn't even hear any of the recording. So what I thought I'd do is I'd take you on a little drive around the streets of Belmont while we think on this passage together. I had this experience on the weekend where we were at the beach. I was at the beach with my kids, and I got myself a coffee and a bacon and egg roll. I got them something as well. It's not important what I got there, maybe like a piece of banana bread or something, but I got myself a coffee and a bacon and egg roll. And I always cut my burgers in half, whether they're bacon and egg rolls or burgers. I cut them in half because I can't fit those big things in my mouth and I don't want to get all stuff over my hands. So I cut it in half, and I'd eaten half of my bacon and egg roll. And then my little son Leo comes up. And he says, "Dad, can I have some of your bacon and egg roll?" And I was like, no way! There's no way I'm sharing my bacon and egg roll with you. And this is the thing, you might not know this about me, but I actually really don't like sharing my food. If I have food, I've normally got just enough, the right amount. The amount of food that I want is what I've bought. I don't buy too much, I just buy the right amount. So I'm imagining eating that whole bit of food. I was imagining eating that whole bacon and egg roll. So when Leo says, "Can I have some of your roll?" I was like, no way! That's for me! I want the bacon and egg roll. You've had a banana bread, you jerk! Get out of here! You can't have the rest of my bacon and egg roll. I really don't like sharing food. Actually, like if we were out together, you and me, and you wanted some of the food that I had, I would sooner go and buy you your own thing. Whatever you want, I would buy it for you, just so I wouldn't have to share what I had, because I'd be imagined eating it. Now for that reason, because of that, when I read the story that you've just read probably in your groups today, when I read that story, I'm so impressed by that young boy, by the lad, by the boy who comes up with his 5 loaves and his 2 fish. I'm so impressed by him, because he's willing to share what he has. But it gets more impressive, and it becomes all the more to my shame when you actually think about the context that he found himself in. The area that this miracle is taking place is known to be an area that's stricken by poverty. So a lot of the people who were gathering around Jesus in this place were probably incredibly poor people. And what we know from the historical record is that there are a lot, hang on, I'm just coming up towards an oversized truck that I have to get out of the way of. We know from the historical record that in this particular part of the world, the Roman Empire was severely taxing the people. They were being taxed, these poor people, the already poor people, are being taxed already at rates of about 80 to 90%. So it's 80 to 90% of the things that they produce, they would have to give back to the Roman Empire. So it's likely the people gathering around are incredibly poor. It might not even be the only day that they hadn't eaten when Jesus sees that they're hungry. Maybe it's been days on end that they haven't eaten. Such is their situation. And what we learn about this boy is that he comes and he's willing to share. And what's he willing to share? 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. Now barley loaves, if those of you know anything about making bread, you normally make bread out of wheat. Whereas this boy brings barley loaves. Now that's poor people's food. That's what you make bread out of when you don't have enough money to buy flour and wheat. And the fish, when you think about the fish, he brings like 5 loaves and 2 fish. You're thinking, probably like me, of this massive kind of barramundi, you know? Like he's got like a big, huge barramundi that he's kind of sharing. That's very, very unlikely. The fish that he was sharing are probably more like anchovies. They're just these little bits of flavoring. So it's just when you have it, it's really just having kind of flavoring. It's like a spread, you know, that you would put on bread. It's like a relish or something. So this is the shame to me, my friends. I get uncomfortable about sharing, you know, half of my bacon and egg roll when I know I could always buy another one. Whereas this boy is willing to share potentially all the food that he had for the next week, all the food that his family had for the next week. He's willing to give it to Jesus in some kind of hope that Jesus might be able to do something with it. Now that is an incredible trust, isn't it? It's an incredible trust in Jesus. But it's an incredible generosity as well. Now, you might be thinking, this is how you might think. I don't have a lot to give. How can I be like this boy? I don't have huge bank balances. I can't make a difference in the world. There's so much need around me, and nothing that I can give would ever make any change in the world. I think what we learn from this story is this, is if you, like that boy, if you have a heart of generosity, if you are happy to give of what you have, if you look around you and you see the need and you say, I don't even know how I can meet this, but I'm going to give it a crack. I'm going to give you what I have. If you give that very little thing to Jesus, he can turn it into something magnificent. He can turn it into something that gives sustenance to thousands of people. Because even the smallest gifts given into the hands of Jesus can make a huge difference in the world. Are you following me? So don't ever say that you don't have enough. You have plenty enough. And whatever you can give can make a real difference in the world. So follow that feeling that says to you, I should give. Are you with me? The other thing I want to draw your attention to really quickly in this story, it comes from a guy named John Calvin. Now, John Calvin is a great reformer. He was one of the leaders of the period of the Reformation. He's a great theologian. And as he's reflecting on this story, he thinks of it as a story of God providing for the needs of people, of poor people. He's providing for their needs. And what he says is, you can be 100% sure that God is going to provide for your needs. That's what God is promising to do here. Through Jesus, through his goodness, through his grace, he will provide everything that you need. But John Calvin says this is fascinating. He says, what does God provide in this instance? What does Jesus give the people? He gives them bread and fish. And John Calvin goes on, he says, he gives them bread and fish, not bread, fish, and sauce. What's he saying? He's saying in this instance, what Jesus is providing to his people is what they need, not what they want. What he's promised is to give you what you need to survive. Bread and fish. He's not promised to give you sauce. The extra bits, the accoutrements, the riches, the overflow, that is not a promise of God. He's promised to take care of you in need, not to provide all the things that you want. Now, Christians get that horribly wrong, right? There was this hashtag that went around a while back when I was on Instagram. It was called #favor. It was basically all these Christian people finding themselves in beautiful locations with great food, with like Harley Davidson motorbikes, with the best cars, and they would put a hashtag next to the picture that they took, and they would say #favor, as in, this is God's favor on us, we're experiencing his blessing. What John Calvin says, that's not God's blessing, that's greed. Because God's blessing is for what you need, and anything extra you get, you should give it to the poor. That's John Calvin's line. So as you don't have anything extra, right? You're just kids. You don't have anything extra to give. And that's okay. But as you move into adulthood, as you begin to think about what you will do and what you will earn and what you will live, you need to remember the lesson of the loaves and the fish, which is God's promise that he will look after you, that he will be with